All right, so we know now diffusion is the movement of molecules from high to low concentration. We know when it's water moving through a membrane, we call it osmosis, but water also moves from high to low concentration. So talk about a couple other things related to this. Okay. First off is how diffusion is affected by heat. When we heat up something, what happens is the molecules in that substance start moving more quickly. And if the molecules are moving more quickly, they tend to bump into each other more and more quickly, and it causes diffusion to happen faster. Okay? Like if we put a drop of food coloring in 2 jars at the same time, which one is warmer water? Joe?
The left one.
This one?
No, the left one.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was looking. Yeah, this one. Okay? Because the dye diffused through that water more quickly. That's why I used warm water when I was making my salt solution, so the salt would dissolve more quickly. So we could increase the rate of diffusion, how quickly molecules diffuse, by adding heat to a substance. Or, the more surface area there is, the more molecules can pass through. So when I was using that dialysis tubing, the larger I made the dialysis tubing sac, the more molecules could diffuse in, and the more quickly it would turn color. Because there's more space for those molecules to get through. And this is important, especially in our bodies. So diffusion is very important in how our body works, especially in like our lungs and in our digestive system. In our small intestine, for example, that is where we absorb the nutrients from our foods. Nutrients like carbohydrates and amino acids and proteins and vitamins diffuse from the digested food into our blood. That happens through diffusion. Okay. Now, our intestines are not just like a tube, like a hose inside. It's not smooth. Instead, the inside of our intestine has all these bumps in it. They're called villi. And what happens is having all those bumps greatly increases the surface area where molecules can diffuse into our blood. If our intestine were just a smooth tube inside, its surface area would be about 1.5 square meters, about the surface area of your desk. But that's not how it is. It has all these bumps and ridges. The actual surface area, because of that, okay, is about 250 square meters. That's about 2 basketball courts. That's the surface area inside of just our small intestine.
Yeah, can it like stretch out that far?
No, it can only stretch out about maybe 20 feet or so. But if you were open up all that surface area, take up 2 baskets. So that's a large area for nutrients to get into our blood. Same thing in our lungs. Our lungs aren't just like 2 balloons that inflate. They're made of these tiny little clusters that look like this, called alveoli. That makes the surface area of our lungs a whole basketball court. So again, because in our lungs, oxygen is diffusing into our blood. So what we've talked about so far, diffusion, osmosis, are types of what we call passive transport. It just happens on its own. It doesn't need any energy. Osmosis and diffusion are examples of this passive transport. But there are times in our bodies when molecules are needed to go the opposite way, from a lower concentration to a higher concentration. That can happen, but it happens through this other process called active transport. And it requires energy to happen. Your body has to exert energy to force molecules to go from low to high concentration. There's proteins that help that happen. You remember my example, if I jammed every 7th grader into this room? What would happen when I open the door?
They would all flood out.
Lots of them would. Would I have to tell them to go over there or push them out the door, or would they do it on their own? They just do it on their own. I wouldn't have to exert any energy. However, if I had a high concentration of 7th graders in here, and out in the hallway there's 9th graders, a low concentration, would they come into this room on their own? No. But I could grab one of them, right, and force them to come into this room, force them to go from a low concentration to a high concentration. But it would take a little bit of energy from me.